Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble episode 16. This is Luke Owen. I am Ollie Davis, and today we're going to be talking about this week's episodes of Raw and Smackdown, including Braun Strowman being written off TV, who next for Brock Lesnar, and how bloody good are the Usos on promos. 12 days. You can go to any of those discussions by clicking the video links. Oh, God damn it, the video, it's a smooth intro, it's a smooth intro. Click the links in the video description below to be taken directly to any of those discussions. How you doing, Luke?
I looked away. I thought you were going to go for another take, which would be the third.
You don't know that.
Peeling the curtain back ever so slightly. And so I literally went like this. And I went to go pick up my drink bottle until I realised...
I was going to push through.
Pushing through, mate.
I couldn't be bothered to reset.
Couldn't be bothered for that third take.
Yeah. So we're going to go straight into the Raw thoughts, which, I might say, we were both at. We had the immense pleasure, someone very, very kindly accommodated us, myself and Luke, at this week's taping of Raw, because it was in London.
Yes.
Right here. You wouldn't know it, because there was no phone box.
No.
There were no Union flags.
Nope. There was none of that. There weren't even pops for home country stars.
No, WWE managed to bore us all to tears before we could get excited about Jack Gallagher.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to take the viewers on a little journey.
Come on.
Because, I mean, I had a wonderful evening. I met with some other great YouTubers.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful time with all of those. But this is the first time that you and I have been to a wrestling event together.
No.
It is.
Is it?
It is, yeah. We have not been to any Rev Pro shows or anything like that. We've been meaning to.
Yeah.
But then I always have other things on, you know, like I've got a pretty demanding life. But you and I have never managed to do it. So this was really exciting for me to go to a wrestling event with you.
I didn't know you built it up so much.
No.
I was thinking this is the first TV taping I've ever been to.
That was the other side.
That was my excitement.
Yeah, so it was great.
I didn't know it was our first.
It was our first
virgin experience.
It was.
Together.
It was our first time, and it was.
Well, it was painful.
It was rough.
Yeah.
So I was just dead excited to kind of like hang out and go for it. And I never really see you that excited for something in your entire life. Like when we went into the VIP area backstage with the club.
Yeah, I lost my cool.
I
lost my cool.
You marked out so hard because you walked in and you literally shouted, "Oh my God, it's the club!"
Yeah, they were quite close as well.
And then they had like this glass cabinet.
Did I give them their slave names? I didn't say it's Doc.
No,
it's Doc and Carl from New Japan. That will make me friends with them.
No, you just shouted, "OMG, it's the club."
And then I ran over to the UK title
Yeah, they
belt.
had the UK Championship, and you and Oh My God, Zombie Barbecue ran up, or Super Zombie God Barbecue. You ran up to the championship, like, "Oh my God, it looks so beautiful!" And there's a picture I posted up on Twitter of you posing with the belt, and then we had a couple of free drinks, and you were just dead excited. And then we finally went to our seats, and you were just giddy with excitement because there's the big Titantron, there's a huge arena of people, a big ramp.
Yeah, what a scream. That is something.
So impressed with the Titantron.
No wonder they never want to change the set because that looks so expensive.
You got excited because you could see Corey Graves at the commentary desk.
Yelled at him. I was quite... Those first 10 minutes, I was yelling stuff.
But it was amazing because I've been to a few TV tapings in my lifetime, but I've never been to a TV taping with someone as excited for a TV taping as you were.
Well, I've been to a lot of house shows, and it's always eluded me. Well, I went to NXT Takeover, but I'm not counting that as the full razzmatazz of a Monday Night Raw.
Exactly.
The thing I grew up watching at home.
Yeah, and then just watching that excitement slowly drained away, like from you. Like when the show first started. We both stood up when Dean Ambrose came out with a lot of like cheering and whooping and that. When Braun came out, we both like jumped up our seat going like, "Oh, it's Braun! Yeah, Braun!"
He's enormous in real life
He's
as
enormous
well.
in real life, but by the end of the opening segment and probably after the Finn Balor Miz match, you were just less excited and less and even less.
Yeah.
And it was only like the Hardys popped you a little bit. You got that kind of got you out of your chair.
It was more fear because the fireworks happened, and that jumped me out of my seat.
But it was amazing to see how a boring episode of Raw can just deflate someone who was so excited previously. And there was a moment during the events when you turned to me. It was during the Seth Rollins Samoa Joe match, and you turned to me and you went, "This is the main event, right?" And I said, "Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it is, because everyone's wrestled so far. We've already had Finn, we've had Miz. This is Braun's already been on. Brock's not here. There's no other top guys left." And then halfway through the match, I suddenly looked at you and went, "Oh no, there's Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt. They already announced
so
that."
Sad.
You were so sad, and then you suddenly went in a most deflated voice, like, "Oh, this is in the end of hour 2, isn't it? We've still got another hour to go." And that was a real moment. I was like, "Oh yeah, we have." And then when they had Alicia Fox, and
who, to her credit, can bust out a hell of a Northern Light suplex. Wow.
The best Northern Light suplex Dave Meltzer has ever seen.
I want to say, I was popping for that Northern, because sometimes I worry that people think, oh, Ollie just repeats everything Dave Meltzer says. But I said that as soon as she did it.
As soon as you did it, you literally went, "Oh my God, that's one of the best Northern Light suplexes I've ever seen." And then Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio goes like, "I think it's genuinely one of the best Northern Light suplexes I've ever seen." It was just incredible to see you get so deflated.
Yeah, so it was tough going because I mean, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit from the end of the Raw review where I gave some thoughts. But essentially, I have lived my entire wrestling fandom life based on the core principle or idea that live wrestling is the most fun you can have outside of the house, really. But drinking and getting involved. Like, when I was a kid, it wasn't drinking, obviously. It was just youthful enthusiasm. But now there's nothing better than getting rather inebriated and watching wrestling live. And I'd seen WWE shows, and the WWE house shows that I had seen live cater very much for that live audience. It's a bit Panto-esque, and I love that sort of stuff. So I very much enjoy that. So when anyone says, "Oh, you like wrestling? It's meant for kids," I'll go to a show. Go to a show, and you will come back and go, I had the time of my life there. And I've sort of based everything on that. And then it's one thing watching Raw on television and going, the third hour's the problem. The start of the third hour, the crowd die. That was a bad crowd. That was a good crowd. I've never been in that taping. I've never been in the audience. So to be there and feel the energy sap out, I will very rarely blame the audience from now on. You have to, it really is down to WWE, because when has anyone said, "Oh, you know what, those UK crowds really do sit on their hands for most of the time"?
Isn't it amazing? Like, all the reviews that have come out from that show from people who weren't there in the arena, who watched the tape delay, were just like, "Man, yeah, like the UK crowds are usually like really rowdy crowds. You can't shut them up." But where were they? There was no one there. The crowd was so dead. And apparently they actually dumbed down the crowd.
I don't know. But I don't think they did. It was quiet in there. It
was like, I'm not kidding. During some of those matches, you could hear a pin drop. Like, you could hear every slam on the mat and a pin being dropped next to them.
But it's more than that. It's not just like an absence of sound. Alex, I know Alex Shane, and I once spoke to him about what ring psychology is, because he's got a very different idea of what it is. It's fascinating. And he says ring psychology really depends on where you're wrestling, because if you're wrestling to a large arena, they're almost an easier force to control, because everyone gets swept up in the fact that there's so many people. It's bigger than just a couple of hundred people watching in a school auditorium. It's a massive, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people, and you get swept up in the crowd mentality. And as a wrestler in the ring, that's fascinating to play with. Bring them down, bring them up. You really are conducting an orchestra, is his words. And it wasn't just that they were quiet. It was that they were dead. There was no energy in the air. The air felt flat. I felt tired. I felt tired watching the show. And it's one thing sitting on my sofa at home going, "Oh, I'm bored of this. This is tiring." Being there and knowing I have to go back home, that I'm bored, I mean, was very thankfully, because we were treated to this, didn't pay money for it. But I would be pretty pissed off if I did, because that was a real lackluster show.
It was a bad show.
Yeah.
Really bad show. And but what I will say as well is that I still believe in the art of going to see wrestling live, but for house shows. Because I've been to a number of house shows and had a brilliant time, had an absolute ball, and the crowd is alive and electric throughout. But those TV tapings, when there's lull periods, when there are shorter matches, when there are talking segments, when the lights go down because they've got to go change the ring ropes for the cruiserweights to come out.
That was ridiculous. It needed Benny Hill music to watch that live.
But like, it's a tough watch. And but it wasn't helped by the fact that it was a really boring show.
Boring and long.
Boring show. It's got to be the most boring Raw this year. Has to be the most boring one this year.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I would have to go back and look, but just being there live, I bet being there live can have two effects. You can either be, it can be a lot more enjoyable because you were there live. If it's a good show, maybe it's really good if you're there live, whereas at home it's just kind of average. But if it's a bad show on telly, oh my God, it's going to be an even worse show live.
Here's my thing of why I think it's probably the most boring show of this year so far, but also one of the worst as well. There are a couple of major storylines within Raw at the moment, and that is, Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, and Dean Ambrose versus The Miz. And in all of that, who's going to be next? Roman and Braun as well. Who's next for Brock Lesnar? That's the real big storyline going on at Raw.
Something we're going to talk about
Something we're going to talk about shortly. None of that was continued or furthered by that episode of Raw. And if you have an episode of a TV show where you are not furthering storylines, that's not a great episode of a TV show. That is a lame duck. That is the episode of Friends when they just like sit around and just go like, oh, that's a little bit like that time when that thing happens, and it's a clip show. That's what this was. It was a clip show. It was a house. Yeah. It was a broadcast house show, but not a good one.
Yeah, it wasn't the fun kind of house show.
No,
yeah.
I've been to fun. The house show they did last year, which was meant to be a network special and ended up just being a house show. They had Braun Strowman versus Goldust. It's probably the match of the night. It was awesome. It was so good, and they had a brilliant Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho match, which was awesome because Roman Reigns is good. It's just we don't like him, and
the triple threat main event.
Main event between Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins, which was fantastic. What an amazing show that was.
Yeah. To think that just the previous week on Raw, there was that cracking main event with Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and The Miz. The other thing is, this is a purely WWE recommendation. Like, don't go and see a taping. Go and see a house show from now on, I'm going to say. Indie wrestling's a different bag.
Yes, 100%.
Go and see all the indie wrestling you can. Because that's the other thing that was really apparent to me. I've been spoiled for indie wrestling. I live in London since about 2011. I've been going to a lot of shows, Progress, Rev Pro, WCPW, NGW, and they're all very, very, very good products, and they work a specific style, which is very strong style, very Japanese influenced. It's very good wrestling, and I like watching that sort of wrestling live. You hear, like, it feels real. It feels like you're watching a fight. You can forget that it's not fake. And when I was watching WWE wrestling live, I was like, oh, this is really stagey and slow. But it's not a good, like, it looks so sloppy. I said to you after the Alexa Bliss match, that was really sloppy.
That was rough, mate.
And The Miz and Finn Balor, I love those two guys. That was sloppy. Like, I could see things going wrong. And I don't often pick up things going wrong in matches. I'm not very good at that. But I could see it here. It was very exposed. So let's talk about the actual show. So that was our thoughts live. It kicked off with Dean Ambrose and The Miz doing the co-GM shtick.
Again, that is such like a house show storyline.
Yeah.
Of just like the GM's not here, but I'm GM for the night, and no, I'm GM for the night, and it was kind of like it was a show long storyline that didn't really amount to much, to be honest. It was just a gimmick to make matches, but it was just there to be an excuse because Kurt Angle wasn't there.
Yeah, Kurt Angle wasn't there. And I don't know how much this played into it. We're going to talk about it a bit later. But Braun Strowman is injured.
Yeah.
So WWE had a lot of plans. Obviously, Braun was going to go against Brock Lesnar at...
Great Balls of Fire.
Why did you go,
Because
that should be an immediate response.
I couldn't remember what it was called. Remarkably, couldn't remember what it was called.
What do you mean remarkable? It's the most memorable name they've ever given anything.
That's why I said remarkably, because I forgot what
right,
it was.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No.
Yeah, so Braun Strowman is no longer going to be in that program. So they've had to reshuffle a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that was apparent, really.
Yeah. But, they're professional writers. They should have...
There's 27
stuff.
of them.
Yeah.
You should have contingencies.
So, yeah, this the co-GM stuff, I never really bought into it. I didn't mind the idea of Dean Ambrose being GM. That's okay. That's fun. I'm on board with that. If that's what you're going to do, fine. I'm sad we didn't get to see Kurt Angle, but whatever. And then The Miz comes out, and he's like, oh, yeah, Stephanie McMahon just told me I'm co-general manager of Raw. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll believe you. Like, what? I don't want another authority figure to be there when other authority figures can't be there in person to decide who's going to run the show. But it was just one of those nonsense storylines. I mean, I can't even say logic hold, because that would imply that there's logic to have holes in. It was just like this empty space of ridiculously that they expected people, that they patronized people, to be honest, to hinge this narrative thread on. It was ludicrous.
I really hate this GM kind of controlling things anonymously. It's a bit like when they did the Divas Revolution the first time around, the complete failure that it was. When it was less. Hey, Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch and Charlotte are here and they're going to take over. No, it was Stephanie McMahon picking teams and just saying, like, you three are friends, you three are friends, and you three are friends, and now you are going to fight because I say so. And that's again what it was. It's like Dean Ambrose came out and said, like, Kurt Angle said I can be GM today, and then The Miz came out and go, no, because Stephanie said I can be GM. It's like kids in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want to see from my professional wrestlers who are meant to be, like, hating each other. Hate, you can't use the word hate, but using like
feud, rivalry
exactly.
is the word.
They want to rival each other for their championship opportunities, but they can't because they are puppets for the bigger boys that we never get to see.
We spoke about this earlier, and because we did another podcast about movies, and it was along the lines of, if you're enjoying something, you won't pick holes in it, really, because you're too wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
But here, like, because immediately we weren't enjoying it. Well, I not immediately, but immediately my mind was starting to go, wait a second, this is an in-ring promo. Luke, this time with an in-ring. How long's it going to go? So you've got that side of things, but it's also what goes on between Monday and Monday.
Oh yeah, okay. See, I've never really bothered that. That's never bothered me.
It bothered me this time.
It's never bothered me within like the world of Raw, in which like people like if you are rivaling with someone, you would then say like, hey, I tried to contact you last week and you didn't respond. It's like, mate, there's text messages, there's social media, there's Twitter. You lot are never off it. Like, just contact each other on there. It's fine.
Yeah, Titus O'Neill's always on there.
Yeah, but
posting things he should.
In the world of wrestling, in the kayfabe world of wrestling, there is only Monday to Monday, because house shows don't count either.
Yeah.
The world of house shows are outside of the world of Raw. Like, for example, Stephanie McMahon was on This Morning, which is a British TV show. It's on like 10:30 on ITV. Stephanie McMahon's on there talking about WWE and talking about what it's like being a businesswoman. Then you go to Raw, and Dean Ambrose is like, Stephanie's not here tonight, or Miz like, she's back in America. Like, well, no, she's not, because A, we saw her in the VIP area, and B, she was on This Morning. This morning.
Yeah. Okay, it's by the by.
It's by the by. It's a nitpick.
So Braun Strowman then comes out and he's like, Braun,
in sling,
competition, stuff. And Callisto, bless him, came out to no reaction.
To crickets, mate. Utter crickets.
And I was kind of like, is he going to... Do you remember that infamously bad promo he cut after the Superstar shake-up? Where he just goes... and then walks off because he can't think of what to say.
It's in the Botchamania intro.
Yeah, I thought he was going to... I thought we were going to get a gem like that again, but he didn't, and he was just like, I'm going to beat you up, Braun Strowman. I want revenge for the time I beat you. And Braun is like, I crushed you like a beer can.
That's
And
great.
that was a good line. And Dean Ambrose had a good line after that. It's like, the little man wants to fight you. And that was funny.
Yeah.
So that directly went into Finn Balor versus The Miz.
Mm-hmm. It was a fine little match. I enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, I love Finn Balor. I really like The Miz. But this actually did kickstart a string of things that was kind of prevalent throughout the night, which is one of the other reasons why I think the crowd were really deflated. Our first match between Finn Balor and The Miz ended with a DQ. And as soon as it ended with a DQ, the crowd went, ugh. I mean, yeah, the match was restarted, but we had 2 more DQs later on in the night. And it's just like every time you do a DQ finish, you're just like, ugh. Especially because you've just watched like a 10-15 minute match that has no conclusion. And yeah, and then Finn Balor hits the coup de grace. What a wicked build to an IC title match next week as well by having both guys lose. So thumbs up there,
Well done.
WWE. Thumbs up.
How can we make both guys lose? It's the ultimate 50-50 booking, right? Nobody gets over. So the interference that happened, Finn Balor and Miz had, I thought it was a boring match. Yeah.
That's what that was the match that ended you.
Yeah, it was the first one.
It was the
I was
first
just
one.
like, this isn't...
And that was when you
good.
turned to me and you suddenly went, I've been spoiled by New Japan.
Yeah. Oh my God. Because the previous night I made a massive error of finally watching the Kazuchika Okada and Shibata. Katsuyori Shibata. And good God, that is an excellent match.
Okay, yeah, but here's the thing.
I know.
You've got to separate the two. You have to separate the two out.
But I know, I like fun overbooked stuff. It just wasn't fun. So Miz pulls Balor into the referee and is like, I can't, I'm the GM, so disqualification. Yeah. Ambrose restarts it. That's how all that happens. What were we going to say?
Sorry, I didn't mean to try and interrupt you there. What I was going to say was less about the overbooking of things. It's more about the actual in-ring style.
I know.
You do have to try to separate the two.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's apples and oranges, but unfortunately, there are some people who are quite happy to have both. Even though there are some of you who just really like apples, and I was quite so keen on oranges.
Well, I really like all of it. I watch WWE for the big overblown production and the stupid storylines and stuff like that, and colourful characters, and competent wrestling that I can slowly get into, and every once in a while there'd be a really good match. And I thought this was just a very poor example of all of those things.
Fair enough.
Alexa Bliss beat Mickie James
In a bad match.
in another match that had a lot of interference.
Bad match.
Mickie James is not over.
The most over person in that match was Bayley, and she wasn't wrestling.
Yeah. I tell you one thing, though. I was really impressed by Nia Jax live.
Yeah, she does look better live, and I think she is getting better with each passing week. When she's not dropping Charlotte on her head, she is getting slowly. I mean, here's the problem with Nia Jax. She was brought up too early. She was a victim of the draft, in which case she wasn't ready to go up to the main roster, and they brought her up. She could have done with another 6 to 8 months in NXT, or even a year in NXT.
But she's got the look. And it looks like this. It's from side to side.
And she's related to The Rock.
Oh, yeah. Braun Strowman beat Kalisto.
Oh.
Kind of.
Did that match actually end?
I don't know. There was no bell or anything.
No.
It started because Braun came out in a sling. We know now it's because he's got minor elbow issues and he's going to have some surgery on it. It's going to put him out from 4 to 8 weeks. Pro Wrestling Sheet say. And Kalisto, he's beating down Kalisto, but then Roman Reigns' music hits. Thunderous boos.
Yep, thunderous boos. The most heat anyone really got, good or bad. But yeah, he was thunderous boos, and it's amazing really because I've been a part of as I was at that house show last year. It was meant to be Network Special when Roman came out. Thunderous boos. Everyone standing up, putting the thumbs down, and going like, "You suck, Roman. You're awful at what you do." And he's perfectly fine. He's just booked badly. And there was a moment when he came out, and my instant reaction when I hear that music is to go.
Yeah.
Or boo.
You've been conditioned.
I've been conditioned to boo that music, but I was trying to stay quiet because silence is what will stop the push, not booing. Him booing will just get him pushed further. And then there was this kid in the row in front of us with his dad, head to toe in Roman Reigns gear. So excited to see his hero, Roman Reigns. Stood up, he had a sign for him and everything. He was loving the fact that he was beating up Strowman. And I've had this with John Cena fans as well, when I've been at shows and I've been like, boo John Cena, back in the days when it was cool to boo John Cena. And you're like, boo, John Cena's rubbish. Cena sucks. And then seeing those little kids in their big green T-shirts and their oversized green hats with throwing up the signs with their 12 wristbands.
Sure.
And then you're like, oh, yeah, he's a hero to these kids. And yet here we are, 30-year-old smarks. Guys go like, no, boo, because
he's not booked effectively.
Because he's not being booked effectively, and the corporation wants him to be over rather than him actually being over.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't explain why you punched him in the back of the head. No. He was an 8-year-old kid, Luke.
He deserved it, though. He was wearing a Roman Reigns T-shirt.
I once got in a drunken argument. All the drunkenness was on my side with a 10, 11-year-old kid.
Always a great start to a story.
Yeah, at a house show, a Raw house show that I went to with Punk on CM Punk, and I was the biggest CM Punk mark at the time. And this kid was cheering John Cena. And I was like, what are you doing? His CM Punk's so much cooler.
He's got tattoos.
Yeah.
He wrestled in Japan.
John Cena should have turned heel, man. And the kid's like, what's the heel? I was like, ah. Anyway, okay, so Roman Reigns comes in. It really, because one of the more astounding things being there live, and you coined this, you sort of identified what this was. People were popping for only entrances and finishes.
Because that is what the crowd have been conditioned to react to.
Yeah.
And this was something I wanted to bring up in a wider picture, but it's probably deserving of its own video, really, which is how... Actually, no, there's actually can be brought up. Because I'll bring this up in the Sasha Banks match, so it reminds me of this, because it's something I want to bring up.
Yeah, but in this bit, Roman Reigns got heat all the way through. So that was like real, genuine heat. Everything else was, oh, it was a loud noise. Oh, the referee counted the pin. Loud noise. So that was the usual pattern for the audience reactions. So Roman Reigns attacks Strowman, and Braun Strowman walks off out the crowd, which leaves the question, who will face Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire, Luke?
So are we answering this question now?
We're going to do our best.
Okay, so... Oh, man, it's in a really tough spot. And this is kind of what happens when you put all of your eggs into one big 7-foot basket. And I suppose the who is best for Brock next? Because I suppose my instant reaction would be to say Rollins. Rollins would probably be my best guess at the moment, because his feud with Samoa Joe is cold.
They have not got chemistry.
I think they've been a victim of bad crowds, because I thought their match at Payback should have been much better, but the crowd were completely dead after the House of Horrors
and the Bailey loss.
So I think that didn't help, and it didn't help them here either, because it was a completely dead crowd that were already tired by the time they had their entrances.
Yeah,
I was so excited because I love Samoa Joe. I'm a huge Samoa Joe mark.
Same.
Big fan of Seth Rollins as well, and I left a beer queue to go back for that match. I was meant to buy Dale a beer, and I ran back because I was like, I don't want to miss Samoa Joe. So, but because the crowd was dead, the match doesn't have that impact. If the crowd were into everything and into the near falls, it would have been much better. But it was a very safe worked style. But we can come on to that. But the point I'm making is that that feud is just cold. There's no heat for it. So the best thing to do would be to move Rollins on to someone else. And that someone else should really be Brock Lesnar. You can't do Roman, because you're saving that for WrestleMania. Joe's not ready for that position just yet, as much as I would love to see that.
That would be awesome. But yeah, just be going in there to lose.
Not the right time to do that. Bray and Wyatt are just starting their feud, so it doesn't make any sense to do either of those.
Wyatt.
Sorry, Bray and Finn. Fergal, as Joe kept calling him on Jericho's podcast. And I think that's if I was to do Finn, I would save that for SummerSlam. And you're not really going to do Dean or The Miz, so your only other option is Rollins.
Titus Brand.
Well, yeah.
What about Apollo Crews?
I mean, I've been begging for that Apollo Crews push ever since he got drafted.
Titus comes in. You've signed with me. Holy hell! I don't know how I pulled it off. But you're facing Brock Lesnar, Apollo.
Actually, really, in theory,
that was Apollo Crews' smiling face.
That's nice, mate. In theory, if it's not going to be Strowman. You want to go with the person who beat Strowman last. So Kalisto. Kalisto should now be the new #1 contender. In all fairness, I would rather watch the Kalisto Brock Lesnar match than I would the Rollins Brock Lesnar match.
Potentially hilarious. Yeah, so there's a rumor going around that Cage Side Seats picked up on that Roman Reigns is going to be working with Bray Wyatt to free up Finn Balor. To put Finn Balor against Brock.
It's too soon, mate.
Yeah.
It's too soon.
So that's the rumoured thing. But yeah, like you said, I guess Seth Rollins is the only one there, but I don't really have any interest in watching us. I've got a lot of interest watching a Balor versus Brock match. I think they can have a great little man versus big man contest. But the idea is Brock isn't losing that title. No. I can't see that happening. And I don't want Finn to win the title again just yet, to be honest.
No, Finn shouldn't be winning the title at this point.
But there's a story built in because he's never lost it. I mean, there's your story written right there. He can just come out and go, I never lost it, Braun's off.
I never lost the title. I won my title shot. My championship opportunity, sorry.
So here's one. Who do you think's going to face Brock, and who do you want to face Brock?
If that rumour is true, actually, no, I'm going with Rollins for both answers. Because I think that Rollins is the best person for this time period. Because Rollins losing won't hurt him, but Finn losing at this point it's too soon for him to lose.
Yeah.
Also, I don't want to see a Roman Bray Wyatt feud again.
No.
Oh man, because that was bad last time, and I don't want to see it again.
Okay, so I'm going to say Rollins like you for think, but how about this for want? Like, just imagine if he wasn't embroiled in a tag team mess right now. Cesaro.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's been around long enough. If he faces Brock Lesnar, it doesn't matter if he loses because he's not going to win it. It's just to elevate him in defeat. That can be done, WWE. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Brock Lesnar versus Cesaro. And you've got the pre-existing relationship with Paul Heyman.
Yes,
Cesaro
you do.
I mean, they're not going to bring that up in the unlikely event that they do it, but hey. Let's carry on with some tag team turmoil. Speaking of Cesaro,
it was the best thing on the show.
Best thing on the show, yeah.
By
I thought
a country mile, it was the best thing on the show.
And you know what? It was smartly booked as well because you have Cesaro and Sheamus, heels, starting off this tag team turmoil. They're the underdog position, but somehow, with the order of people that came out, rather than going like, we want Sheamus and Cesaro to stay until the end. We want them to win. It was, no, we want this team to defeat them. They beat the Golden Truth. No, we want this one. They defeated Enzo and Cass. So by the end, you're like, screw you guys. You won. You look really strong, and we still boo you.
With that said, it does seem like odd logic when you have got the heel team overcoming the odds to the baby faces. So when the Golden Truth came down, Jobbers for Life, they're the Job Squad. When they came down, they're acting like the fiery baby faces, and yet the heels are the one that have got to overcome these odds. And I was like, this is very odd psychology-wise, but I enjoyed it. But you know what? It was the Shamaro and the club section.
Yeah,
loved that. I thought that was really, really great, and that was. You said earlier that you weren't keen on the actual in-ring style and everything looked a bit soft and everything. It was hard hitting and it was great. Yeah. Really enjoyed it.
It wasn't even hard hitting. It was snug and it looked really good. And the sequence of moves made sense. It looked like they were actually trying to fight each other rather than just going through. Okay, you do this and then I'll do that. I turned to you right away. I was like, that was the best in-ring portion of the whole night.
Yeah.
And you know what? On the actual episode of Raw, when I watched the broadcast back the next day, that was the bit they cut out in a commercial break. Huge chunk of it. Gone.
Did they dumb down because I haven't watched Raw back in its entirety, but they dumbed down the crowd because the crowd were solidly behind Sheamus and Cesaro. And I think if you're trying to get them,
Sheamus and Cesaro.
I think if you're trying to work them over, get them over as heels, the last thing you want is a London crowd going
I didn't really pick up on anything, so maybe
this
they
team
did.
is amazing.
Hardys ran down afterwards. Bam, scare me to death with pyro. Seth Rollins beat Samoa Joe. We've talked. This is when the crowd really started to die because we were reaching that second hour. I thought it was ending soon. Little did I know we had TJP beating Jack Gallagher next.
So Jack Gallagher and Neville both. From the UK, neither got a pop.
Yeah, because everyone was just tired.
Everyone was tired. And if Jack Gallagher cannot get a pop out of a UK crowd, something is awry.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll tell you for why, actually. A friend of mine went to the Smackdown taping, and he said that, the cruiserweights were super over.
No way.
Yeah.
Why they didn't have to sit through? I bet it felt more fresh to change up from SmackDown to that.
Maybe.
We got to watch the ridiculous taping up of the ring ropes for the cruiserweight match. Really stupid. But yeah, TJP just rolled up Gallagher and hooked the tights.
Yeah.
In under 3 minutes.
Under 3 minutes. Really boring. Nothing to it.
Great start to it though. Gallagher walked straight in.
Oh, that was that was awesome.
And that was really good. He would have been great if he just won with that.
Yeah, that would have been a great finish.
That wouldn't have been very nice to TJP, who is excellent right now.
Yeah.
TJP's very good.
Like
Sasha Banks beat Alicia Fox.
Alicia Fox.
Is this the bit you wanted to make it quick, though, because we've gone very long on
Okay, I'm going to make this very quick then. So, one of the other things that I thought felt really killed the crowd, apart from the fact we had a DQ, a couple of DQ finishes here and there, Sasha Banks won with a move. So, the finish felt flat as well. She just did the double knees off the top and got the win. She didn't hit the bank statements. She didn't do anything else. She didn't even do the double knees in the corner that's taken out Emma. So, the WWE Universe has been conditioned to react to entrances and finishing moves. We are not trained to react to near falls because near falls don't matter anymore. So I'm actually completely on board. That's why no one reacted to the finish of this match, because everyone just went, oh, it's over. Oh, well, she didn't even hit a finish. That's what I was expecting. So I'm all for matches ending with moves that aren't finishes, because it does kind of create that possibility of trying to rebuild the idea of near falls. And I was wondering if, as I said, it's probably a longer form discussion, but can WWE bring back popping for near falls? Because at the moment, near falls aren't near falls anymore. They're an opportunity for the crowd to go 1, 2, 2,
sweet,
or the sweet thing that needs to go away. That's all it's there for now.
Yeah. I think, they obviously can. Ring of Honor did a great job at trying something similar in 2011, 2012. And it made me, as a fan watching that product at the time, it's like MMA. It can end at any time.
Yeah.
Just a really strong elbow to the head. Just a strike.
Yeah.
And the referee calls off the match because he's knocked out. They did a lot of TKO finishes around that time when Cornette was booking. I thought it was very good. But and finally, we had Bray Wyatt beating Dean Ambrose after interference from The Miz.
Yeah. I will say this. Bray Wyatt's entrance is very cool live. That'll be it.
Sorry, SmackDown people. We're going to have to rush through this review a bit because we've gone really quite long on the Raw stuff.
We had to give a live report.
We were physically there. We had to talk about the time I drunkenly argued with a John Cena kid. SmackDown.
And once again be the only YouTube wrestling show that defends Roman Reigns.
So, yes, that was surprising. So SmackDown started off with one of those standard, I'm coming out, I'm coming out, I'm coming out. People interrupting each other one after the other.
But you know what? If I were there live, I'd have popped huge for every single one of them. Because as I was there watching it, I was like, oh man, AJ, oh, Kevin Owens, oh, Jinder. I was like, yeah, this is great.
And when Baron Corbin came out, Sami Zayn jumped on him right away. That was a good call.
I'd have been popping huge for that.
Yeah, and out of this was made a six-man tag match.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Players.
Yeah, we did need a Teddy Long cameo. Now, hold on a minute, player. Yeah, we did need something like that.
Next up was Natalya versus Becky Lynch, which had the exact same finish as Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James from the previous night, which was one of the heels bad guys would distract him from the outside. It was Tamina this time. Naomi pulls her off. So like Bayley taking out Nia Jax from the previous night. And I was going to say Sasha Banks then, but she's on the wrong brand. Natalya just pulled Becky Lynch off the top rope, pinned her. Yeah. Wasn't like again not a finishing move or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just it's a flat finish, but unfortunately because near falls don't mean anything. But you know the match was fine. My only real takeaway from it is that Naomi was the one to get in the. See, WWE have this thing when they come over to the UK of trying to get in UK references into things. There was a moment later on in the night where there was like a shot of Nelson's column, which is nowhere near the O2, by the way. And Tom Phillips was just like, oh, hey, are you going to buy some souvenirs while you're in the United Kingdom? And Byron Saxton, in his robotic tone, was like, I might go get some fish and chips while I'm here. And it's so annoying. But but Naomi, when she came out, she was like, we're going to have a bloody party.
Yeah.
Because that's what we Brits do. We say bloody. We buy souvenirs and eat fish and chips. That's the way to get over with us, because that's all we do.
To be fair, that was my weekend in Margate about 3 weeks ago.
I was having
a lot of fish and chips,
Yeah.
party, and I'm saying the word bloody.
I was having a conversation with an American friend of mine who was saying, like, she was talking about possibly coming over to the UK. And she was like, well, what food do you eat over there? And I was like, British food, like loads of like really good British food.
Like chicken tikka masala.
She said, what?
And chicken chow mein.
She goes, I've always thought that British food was quite bland. And I was like, well, this is a popular misconception that is completely not true.
No, it is pretty bland.
And she's like, she goes, okay, like what? And I said, shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie is delicious. And she goes, what else? And I went, cottage pie is also delicious. And she's like, what else? I was like, steak and kidney pie. I couldn't think of anything else but pies.
Yorkshire puddings.
That's the other one I mentioned.
Toad in the hole.
That's the other one. That is exactly what I said. You've done with mashed potato and gravy. Beautiful.
English cuisine isn't very good. Let's be honest with ourselves.
That's a lie. Toad in the hole is one of the best meals ever made.
It's a great comfort food. Anyway, so the interesting thing about this match is in the ruckus at the end, Naomi went to take on Tamina on the outside, but Charlotte pulled her back. So just like, it's all kind of, it's a bit of a friction relationship between the non-welcoming committee, the answering back committee, and Becky Lynch convinced them all to do a 6-person tag at Backlash.
We should be a tag team. That was a terrible Becky Lynch. I apologise.
That was pretty good.
That was rubbish.
Eric Rowan beat Luke Harper.
Well, that was a surprise. It was genuinely a surprise. When there was a point where I suddenly went to myself, I was like, oh, I think Eric's going to win this match. And then he did, and I was like, huh, Eric won.
In about 4 minutes.
Poor Luke, man. What's Luke done to upset everyone? Why isn't Luke, A, never on TV, and B, now losing to Eric Rowan of all people?
Yeah,
poor Luke, mate.
I was fine with that decision. Totally fine. Dolph Ziggler confronted Shinsuke Nakamura.
I'm sorry, they've got something so special in Luke Harper, and it really annoys me, but sorry, carry on.
Dolph Ziggler confronts Shinsuke Nakamura, exactly the same as every other week.
Yep, we've got another week of this, I'd imagine, before their match at Backlash.
So it's the go-home show next week for Backlash.
Absolutely. Dolph Ziggler cuts naff promo. Shinsuke speaks in broken English. I will say it was better than last week, at least. He just opened with "shut up," and it was grand. He probably should have just stopped there, really.
Or just kicked him.
It would have
been better if he didn't speak.
Yeah.
At all. My favourite bit of the night, Breezango. Of course, they had the Fashion Police skit, which was okay. Fashion Files, I think they called it. But then they
wasn't as good as last week.
Wasn't as good as last week, no, by quite a long way. But they beat the Ascension. It was still fine. The best bit was the Usos coming out and cut a hell of a promo.
Okay.
No,
I didn't like it.
Why not?
I'm sorry, man. I didn't like it.
What was wrong with it?
I found it really annoying.
You just want everything to be scripted.
I don't want everything to be scripted. I like this because you could tell that it was off the cuff because one of them kept laughing.
Yeah.
As he was saying,
Lick
12
your back.
days. Yeah, and he was just like giggling while he was saying 12 days.
12 days.
That's what I kind of like, but mate, they drove it. Do you know what it was? So going to movie references here. It's just really weird. When we do a movie podcast, we always go to wrestling references. So we're flipping it around into movie references. Judd Apatow produced comedies. He does a lot of improvisation with his actors. So actors will give you like 6 variations of the same joke. And then when Judd Apatow is in the editing room, he's like, I can't decide which of these 6 I like, so I'm just going to use all 6. And the problem with that is then the first one's funny, second one probably not so much, third one might be a little bit funny, but you've heard the same joke then. And by the time you've heard the 6th one, you're ready to move on. I felt the same with this. They just took it that slight bit too long. And there's a rule within comedy that if you do something once, it's funny. If you do it a second time, it's not as funny. If you do it a third time, it's hilarious. If you do it a 4th time, it's the funniest thing you've ever seen. And unfortunately, I felt this was just, it kind of went like this. but it was just a bit too long. I think they just took it too far.
I completely disagree. I don't think they were trying to be comedic. I think it had comedic elements. I think it was just a hell of a good promo. It was fiery, it was intense, it felt like it came from somewhere organic rather than just read off a script. And most importantly, it felt like they were talking like normal people. Like they were the characters. The characters were talking. I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, WWE obviously scripted this.
Your
because
27 writers wrote this.
it's like, because Kevin Owens, as much as I love him, uses the same language, the same verbiage, the same phrases. AJ Styles is the same. They're great, and they're very good at delivering those lines, but it's the same character. It's all the same writing, but the Usos felt like something completely fresh.
I get you, and I hear what you're saying, and I agree. But just because they were characters, and they had a bit more character to them, does not make it a great promo.
Okay, well, I was very much invested in the characters, and I really liked the characters.
That's fine. I thought
for me it was a very good promo.
I thought it was fine at best.
Rusev has revealed his WWE return date. Next week's SmackDown.
Yeah. Oh, fun live story, I was told.
How long is it? Because we're over.
It's a short one, don't you worry. So, in the live tapings, the Ascension came out, playing their... And then, obviously, they fade down to do the commercial break bit. They then played that New Day promo live in front of the crowd. It
was really good.
Which was like a video game, and it was just like, this team, booty, this team, booty. The live crowd thought the New Day were wrestling. So the crowd started going nuts and there's a real buzz and excitement. And then when it said the New Day, because it was like New Day select, they were like, everyone popped huge because they thought the New Day were about to come out. And then it went next week, and everyone went boo.
Well, coming soon.
Well, yeah, coming soon. And then everyone booed because they realised that they weren't wrestling.
Classic Emelina. Imagine if, every week I would have been like that for Emelina in the live crowds.
Oh, actually, speaking of which, Lana got another... she's also coming soon.
Yeah, still coming soon. Rusev, however, is coming next week, so he's going to confront Shane McMahon about that championship opportunity that he wants at Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Want to hear my prediction? They're going to say, well, around here, championship opportunities are earned. You've got to face AJ Styles.
It's the land of opportunity.
Yeah.
Land of championship opportunities.
And in the main event, we had that six-man tag of Jinder Mahal, Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin, who beat Randy Orton, AJ Styles and Sami Zayn, with Jinder getting the relatively clean pinfall win over the Viper.
Fun little match. Fun little six-man tag. I'd have really enjoyed watching it live.
So very quickly, no closing thoughts. It's just a few lines. What was better, Raw or SmackDown?
SmackDown.
SmackDown.
Yeah.
That's all we've got time for in this episode. Click the videos to the left to catch up with the latest episode of the WrestleRamble show, or click the other video bit where it will have the WrestleTalk news, the latest episode of that. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.